Welcome, everybody, to another episode of What in the World is Happening, the show about Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom. I'm Sabina Qureshi, broadcasting live from Edmonton, Canada, and with me today are Mary Beth Steislinger, a biologist focusing on sustainable agriculture, and Drew Henderson, an acupuncturist, both in Boulder, Colorado, USA. We broadcast live. Oh, hi, Mary Beth and Drew. Sorry. Nice to have you here.
Great to be here. Yeah, good to be here.
We broadcast live every Saturday on Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. And at the end of each show, we do 30 minutes of transmission meditation. It's a free and potent group meditation for anybody over the age of 12. We hope you'll stick around and join us. You might really like it. Today's topic, as you know, is Meditation Mandalas and what they tell us about the Masters of Wisdom and great hope for the future. So let's just start right away. Mary Beth, I'd like to ask you, how did you first encounter these mandalas?
Well, I first learned about this sort of thing in right around 2001. I had been to Perelandra. Some people have heard of Perelandra. It's a wonderful nature research center in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I heard there about the Masters of Wisdom, the Lords of Compassion, and how they work with many people around the world who are doing fabulous work. And at Perelandra, they do nature research. And as a biologist, I thought, wow, how wonderful to work on the inner side to try to understand nature better. And at Perelandra, they were working on agriculture and climate change issues. And I came back from that just fascinated. And soon after that, heard about the Masters of Wisdom at a talk that was happening in Pittsburgh. There's a wonderful transmission meditation group there. And there I learned about the Masters of Wisdom and started doing transmission meditation immediately because I was just wanting to go deeper into this work. So that's how I learned about it.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And so you mentioned the Masters of Wisdom. When you first heard about the Masters of Wisdom, how were they described to you? Like, who are these people?
Right. They were described as basically human beings who are farther along the path. They've kind of graduated from the earth school, so to speak. A lot of people know the word enlightenment, that, the Buddha was enlightened and became one of these great Mahatmas. That's known as also the Masters are called the great Mahatmas, the great teachers. And so we're told that, every one of us are potentially one of these masters. Once we master the earth school in our many thousands of incarnations, we're told, we slowly get there and become more and more conscious, more and more aware until we finally reach the state of these great ones. And they've gone ahead of us on this path, and many have stayed with the Earth evolution to help us in all fields of endeavor. So that's my understanding. And my experiences has proven that that is true.
So in fact, all of us are masters in the making. You could say it like that.
Absolutely.
We're all in a process that leads to that, in fact.
Right. It's a long road, but, we're still probably most of us in kindergarten, but, we're working on it.
And is it true that this is something that takes place whether we're aware of it or not, and whether we even want it to happen or not?
Absolutely. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we have a desire to do good, to do better, to grow, to improve. Some people, it's a free will process. So some people may choose to not go in that direction, but what we're told is the vast majority of people want that. They want what's best for themselves. They want what's best for their family. And as we grow in consciousness, we want what's best for our community, the nation, the world, nature. So most people have no problem moving in that direction, whether they know it or not.
Right, right. And so we like to talk, when we do this show, we like to say to everybody who our sources of information are. How, you heard about the Masters at Perelandra. But there is information out there that people can access about the Masters of Wisdom. And we like to mention these 4 people in particular. Drew, I think you were going to talk a little about them.
Yeah, and in terms of how I heard about this, it was around 1980 when I was living in Alabama, and I went to a New Age film festival, and one of the sponsors of that was the local Theosophical Society. So I found that very interesting, and I joined that society at the time and started studying the material. The first picture there is Helena Blavatsky, who is the founder of the Theosophical Society, received information from the masters and published it in books. Specifically, The Secret Doctrine is one of the best known books that she put out. And then the following, she started the Theosophical Society in 1875. And then in the 1920s through the 1940s, Alice Bailey wrote a whole series of books dictated to her by one of the masters. And Helena Roerich was also one of these people who received information from the masters. And her husband, Nicholas Roerich, was a quite remarkable artist, doing paintings of esoteric or spiritual ideas. And through this group, the Theosophical group in Mobile, we heard about Benjamin Creme coming to New Orleans, and many of us went over there and heard him speak. For the first time I heard him speak, and that was really where I began to be introduced to transmission meditation, the return of the masters to work openly in the world, including the head of this group, Maitreya, and also began to be interested in his art, which is the art we're going to be talking about today.
And so it's true, Benjamin Creme has written 17 books, and they're easy to find. We'll provide links if you're interested. And he's the artist whose paintings we're going to be looking at today. Now, you mentioned the fact that the Masters of Wisdom have returned to work with us, human beings, humanity, and with them Maitreya, who's at their head. Now they've returned to work with us specifically. Why? I mean, why now?
That's a great question. The masters have always existed, and for many millennia have been really located in remote areas of the planet. The Himalayas, the Andes, other remote mountain and desert areas. They have not been openly known among humanity in the East, in India, Tibet. They're known about and talked about, but really the beginning of talking about them was in the West was through Madame Blavatsky. But we are entering an age, we're entering the age of Aquarius, and also the masters it's their time to come work openly in the world. But also it's a time when periodically, when the world gets out of balance, in simple terms, when the world is out of balance, a teacher will come from this group of masters to help guide humanity. And that's really the time we're in right now.
Right. And we can sure see that when we look around us, that things are out of balance. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And we will talk more about who Maitreya is and the masters as well as we go through these images. And just before we do that, I'd like to say that there are 4 of Benjamin Creme's books that are available for free download if you're interested. And you can find these at share-ecart.com. And it's a very easy way to start getting into this information. You'll see the book on the left, The Ageless Wisdom Teachings. That is what we call all of this information. We use that name to describe it. Ageless because although, as Drew was saying, we've found out about it in the West just in the last few hundred years, it's actually a body of knowledge that forms the underpinning of all the world's great traditions and religions. So it's ageless in that sense, and it belongs to all of humanity. And let's start with the first painting. Well, oh, sorry, I forgot. We want to talk about mandalas first, right? What are mandalas? Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I think the basic information you have up here is just great, because simply they are representations of states of consciousness. And like you asked me in the beginning, I got involved with this transmission meditation group in Pittsburgh, and I recognized that we would often use these wonderful mandalas during the meditations. And at first, I didn't feel much coming from them, but in time, I just thought, wow, there is some real energy coming off these meditations, these mandalas. And I just was pondering that quite a bit, like, how does this work? And this is before I knew anything about mandalas, really, or what have you. But I happened to be reading Harry Potter with my daughter, Madigan.
Harry Potter.
And in that book, if those of you who are listening may have experience with those books, they talk about the pictures of the masters, the schoolmasters in Hogwarts, hung on the walls. And sometimes the masters are present when people are looking at their pictures. And when someone really wants to connect, the master would come in and communicate with them, even if they were passed on to a different realm. They weren't in the life of Hogwarts
You're
anymore.
saying the master would communicate through the portrait of the master, not like the master standing beside you looking at the portrait. You mean?
Right.
Okay.
So I
painting.
thought, wow, I wonder if it's something like that. And I thought, I wonder if J.K. Rowling studies the esoteric philosophy or the Ageless Wisdom teachings. And so, from there, I really got interested. And then, I started to look at one of these books. This is the book, The Esoteric Art of Benjamin Creme, and learning more about it by talking to people, and including Drew here, since he was one of the people that was first involved with these paintings.
So mandalas are something that exists in the Tibetan and Indian traditions. They're part of how people relate to the divine, right? They use mandalas. And I've seen Buddhist monks create mandalas with sand.
Right. I've seen that too.
Amazing, yes.
It really is. And so what I find fascinating is that the traditional mandalas, for example, in Tibet and in India, that these mandalas actually have an energetic or function or spiritual function, the way that you're describing the Harry Potter paintings, right? And that's also true of Benjamin Creme's paintings, the ones that we're going to look at today.
Yeah, I would add that, his paintings don't look like the traditional mandalas, but they still have a similar function. A mandala is also called a yantra, or a visual aid to meditation, like we use a mantra, which is a verbal way, and we'll talk about it, one of the mantras that we use. And there's also positions that aid meditation, like the lotus position and certain mudras with your hands and those things like that. So this is the visual representation of states of consciousness that aid in meditation and allow the person to go deeper into their meditation.
I think it's wonderful that such aids exist. I mean, that's really fantastic. Yeah. Let's talk about this one, the very first that we're going to look at. This is called Solar Angel. Solar Angel is a wonderful title. It just angel and solar. Can you talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, I believe this has to do with the fact that, first of all, we are all souls in incarnation. And the nature of our souls is this fiery element. And I don't know, Benjamin Creme describes it as an emanation from the planetary logos, the being that we are all a part of, that is the I guess the being that is Earth. It is a conscious, alive being.
So we're all sparks of that divine, each one of us. And each one of us then has that spark within us. So each one of us truly is a divine emanation. And one of the things I think is amazing is, what would life be like on earth if we really thought of each one of us as a divine part of God instead of the separateness that tends to dominate today. So thinking that each one of us has this hidden place within us that contains this really almost magical, powerful, connected being that's our higher self, that's connected to what people would call God or a representation of God.
So now on the slide it says fire is the nature of our souls. So you're saying that we are essentially fire, that the soul part of us is fire, and also that we are part of this much larger being, the earth. So are you saying the earth is also fire somehow? Like the soul of the earth is also fire?
I think so. I think that the divine aspects, and you'll see these fiery images, the flame images in a lot of the paintings that Benjamin Creme has done. It's just a basic element that is part of the nature of it. I really don't have a better explanation than that right now.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful painting,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's very alive. I find that amazing.
And I would like to say, just encourage the viewers to allow themselves to just contemplate and look at the images and allow it to affect you however it does.
Okay.
That's right, because it's an intuitive process as well, beyond thought. It's the idea being that our higher selves can give us information that we as yet have not total clarity on. And so that's the process of us stretching towards that energy, that consciousness that is our higher divine self. And that actually is really a good segue into the next image. So
How do you see this?
Yeah, Antakarana is the way that I have generally said it. It's a Sanskrit word for the bridge that exists between the soul, your higher self, and you, your lower self, personality self. In Sanskrit, people of Indian descent would say this a little differently, but Antakarana is what we say. So you see the bright light between the two forms there. And the lower form, you see the 3 dots, and those are representative in the human personality of those elements in us that make up our personality. So it'd be our physical, our mental, and our emotional being. And so all 3 of those kind of work together to create an integrated personality who can function well in the world. And of course, we all need to get there before we can really take advantage of our higher wisdom and higher self knowledge. And once we become fairly integrated and we can function fairly well in the world, in the everyday world, we really then can begin to look towards higher things. Because if you're just barely surviving and trying to get by, it's hard to take the time to connect to the soul. But once you can get, function fairly well in the world, then you're working on your meditation. And when you can be centered in the heart mind, we say, then you can really be connected to the soul. And the soul is doing the same thing. It's trying to reach its vehicle, the personality and incarnation. And so we are really getting help from many, many places in our growth. And the soul is one of the main places.
So it sounds almost like a paradox in one way, because we are souls in incarnation, and yet at the same time, somehow we enter into a process of connecting to our soul, even though we are the soul. But so I guess it's the personality that is doing that work of connecting to the soul, and the soul is connecting, as you say, also towards the personality.
That's right. That's right. We have wonderful legends in all faith traditions about, our guardian angel, our connection to something that is part of us, but also separate, So that's really how the soul is. The soul is what stays the same in each incarnation. And it's the personality that changes. So, and the reason for that is we're trying to gain all this information and all this experience so that we can become true co-creators with creation in very wise and willful ways.
And so it's the qualities of the soul that begin to manifest or express themselves through us, through our physical self, the person you see in front of you,
Right.
over time, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Through each incarnation, ideally, we're moving closer and closer to full and soul infusement. Yeah. Fully having the soul speak with the personality in complete unison. And, you know, most of the time we're still dealing a lot with our selfish needs and selfish desires and selfish directions. But, you know, many of us want the best for each other and for the earth. And so it's those soul impulses that are really always pulling us towards the best and highest that we can be.
Well, you know, sometimes I think the fact that things basically work in the sense of there's a cohesiveness across societies, and people try their best to do the right thing. So you see that impulse, it's there in pretty much everybody as a very fundamental part of who people are. So yeah, I absolutely relate to what you're saying. I want to briefly say hello. We have some friends in the audience: Diana Holland, Sue Reagan, Steen Kirsten, Minako Enomoto, Yvonne Lewis, and David Minot. Hello, everybody, and we're really glad that you're here today.
Hello, friends.
So this bridge that's formed is formed through the process of meditation. It's not something that just, I mean, is it happening all the time, or is it specifically when you're meditating that this bridge is being built?
Well, you know, it's specifically when you're meditating, it can be a strong really connection, but it can be built bit by bit, step by step, by also what we call service and study. So the three royal roads for soul connection and soul growth and greater consciousness and greater abilities in the world would be study, service, and meditation. And so, you know, we always say, wherever you're really drawn to study things that are beneficial for yourself and the world, go there. And, you know, certainly service is also very personal. Wherever you're drawn to help, you know, one of the things that Maitreya has said, you know, is use your brother's need as the measure of your actions and solve the problems of the world. And I love that because, you know, things come across your path, I believe, because of your karma, of your skills, your abilities, and also the things that you need to rectify. And so, you know, when things come into your sphere of influence and you can make a good difference, by all means, do what you can.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And we have some more friends. Peter Kanakulia is tuning in from Uganda. Hello, Peter, and welcome to the show. Jane Chappell in Hesperia, California, and Bob Jordan in St. Louis. Thanks for being here today.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And our next picture is, this painting is called Meditation. So it's, well, it looks very interesting to me. Drew, can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, this one, it represents the 4 centers or chakras that are involved in meditation. And the circular form at the bottom represents the heart center. The striped orange form going from green to gold, orange to red represents the throat center. And then the 2 triangles at the top represents the 2 head centers, the ajna center between the eyebrows and the crown center at the top of the head. All these are the centers that we want to activate primarily through either our personal meditation, and especially these are used by the masters to send energy through us in transmission meditation, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. It's just a beautiful painting, a good way to focus on this idea of meditation.
And what we were saying earlier, when you were talking about the masters and how they have reached a point at which they're fully soul infused. So that's something that is happening when we meditate. Our soul is infusing us with its energy, and so I understand that this becomes permanent. I mean, you're doing it when you meditate, but as you keep doing that lifetime after lifetime, the degree of soul infusion increases. Is that right?
I think that's right. And I think, we go through many thousands of lifetimes before we're even drawn to some type of meditation. We start looking behind the physical reality of things. For some, it may be traditional religion will be their path. In the East, meditation has always been a part of the path in Tibet, in Buddhism, and in Hindu traditions. Meditation is part of it, but anyone can do meditation. It takes no particular requirements, really. Just begin to do it and try it. In the yogic tradition, it's often done at the end of a session of yoga. It may be a short meditation. And the meditation, though, really we are focused on connecting with the soul. That is the primary function of what we would call esoteric meditation.
So you're saying esoteric meditation. I understand the word esoteric means hidden. Is there some other type of meditation that's not esoteric?
I think probably just meditation for relaxation. It can be personal and for good health. Yeah. And I find that if I regularly do my meditation, my personal meditation in the morning, the rest of my day seems to go better. I have more access to my intuition. Even if I have challenges, they don't rattle me as much. And I have access to ability to make decisions about things that I may not have all the information about. My intuition seems to be nourished by connecting with my soul. The three aspects of the soul, Mary Beth mentioned the three aspects of the personality. There are corresponding three aspects of the soul: the higher mental or abstract mental, the intuition or the Buddhic level, the intuitional level, and the will, which is an aspect of the will of God. We try, and that's more aligned with the will of, the divine, let's say. And really, we're aligning those three aspects with the three aspects of our personality.
Well, I really like the sound of being able to access more intuition, more wisdom, abstract thought. These are all extremely useful, in fact, in daily life, right?
Right.
Yeah. Mary Beth, did you want to say anything about this one, or?
I was just going to mention again the whole free will thing, that the will of the personality, then when it can connect with the soul, then you're really connecting to the higher will. But it's our free will that has to go there. And so we don't go there until we each decide we want to go there. And that is the free will that we're each gifted with as a dint of respect for our own divinity. And I just love that. When you're ready, you take the next step, and not until.
Right. So there's nobody's saying, come on, you have to do this, or there's no sense of pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes it so much more accessible, I think, also. Yeah. Well, our next painting is called Om, Overshadowing the Earth. This is very different looking from the others. What can you say about this one?
Well, I mean, this is one of my favorites. This is a wonderful image that really works for me a lot when I meditate. I like to think of this large black oval as the void, and indeed that's what Benjamin Creme says, the cosmic egg from which all creation emanates. And when you think of space and the vast creation that's out there, and our little planet kind of hanging where it does at the edge of the Milky Way, and with the idea of Om, and here we have the Tibetan version of Om, the symbolic version, overshadowing the earth and protecting it. It's a beautiful thing. I like to think of the idea of the benign reality, and I believe that we each co-create our lives, including what we bring from our past lives to where we are today, and we have that ability each day to then make those decisions that are for the better and for the good. And this whole image really draws me into those thoughts. When I meditate, I'm doing this not only for myself, because it's an incredible gift for myself. But the beautiful thing about transmission meditation is that it's also a service meditation, so that you're not only doing this incredible service for yourself and bringing you closer to your soul, but you're allowing these energies of evolution to be sent through your chakras to be directed by the masters in service to the good that other people are doing in the world to help humanity and help the earth. So the whole goal of transmission meditation is the dual goal of self-help and help for humanity and the earth.
And just what strikes me as I look at the picture is the Om, the symbol for Om, is really, really big compared to the earth. And so the Om protecting the earth calls to mind this idea, which we've talked about it previously on this show, specifically when we talked about the space brothers and the people who live on the other planets in our solar system. But Benjamin Krem has said this, that there is consciousness throughout the cosmos.
Absolutely.
So we tend to think that we're the only ones, which is patently untrue according to these teachings. But just when I look at this painting, it's kind of like what you were saying, Mary Beth. I have this feeling of that there's great consciousness, much, much beyond ours, that's out there protecting us, and it's full. The universe is full of this consciousness. There's this aliveness, and we're being somehow held, or we're part of something much, much bigger.
It's a great way to put it. Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, Drew, do you want to say something about this one?
Not really anything else to add. I think it's a beautiful image with a powerful message.
Right, and I think what we wanted to do next was just for a moment talk a little more about Maitreya, right, and what his message is to us in terms of where we stand now in our earthly process or earthly evolution. And it's a very simple message, and we have talked about it before, sharing. And it sounds so simple, you almost think, well, wait a minute, is that all? How can that be the message, But of course, it's much more profound maybe than it appears at first sight. And the idea of sharing is that when you share, you recognize in the other, the one with whom you're sharing, that he or she is the same as you. It's a recognition. It's an entering into relationship in a way that our current systems, our economic and political systems, they don't actually permit that. They prevent it, in fact.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it, to really see the divine in each other. That's sharing. And I think there's a reason why we really encourage that from the very beginning with young children, to share. And as we age and grow, we really continue to do such things. But for some reason, the competition really is so strong, especially in the West, for, becoming the winner, becoming the best, and always kind of requiring that there's a loser. And I think this whole idea of sharing kind of begs the question, do we really need to have losers? Isn't there ways to have everyone win-win solutions? And I think we're seeing that around the world with wonderful programs and developments that, world servers are coming up with all over the world, people who are moving in the direction of their souls.
That's right. And I've read about, and I'm sure you've seen this in the news, studies that have been done on how much satisfaction people feel in their lives. And apparently in societies where the gap between the richest and the poorest is smallest, everybody is happier, including the richest people.
Right.
Yeah. So there, sorry, Drew, go ahead.
Oh, I just totally agree. And unfortunately, I think people don't realize that, or it's been programmed through the media, characterized in a different way, you know. But it's really true.
Yeah, I think a lot of indigenous cultures have that as a very fundamental part of their approach to life, the feeling of community and the sense of connectedness, and how we are all in each other, and that it doesn't actually work to stand alone or aside from that connectedness. But I think you're right, Drew. I think it's hard sometimes in this modern world of business and politics to remember that, to see it. But the hopeful part for me is that there are people out on the streets, and lots of groups, as you were saying, Mary Beth, as well, all over the world, who not only see it, but are calling for that to be central in the way that government policies are put in place, in the way that our economics are done. And so I think more and more that recognition is spreading, and people are working towards implementing that level of awareness in our systems, because that's really what we need.
It's really interesting because, you know, the masters have said, and Maitreya specifically has said that, you know, we will, unfortunately, with these crises in the world, go to the edge of the abyss, because we're really pushing the limits of the biosphere, of, you know, economic inequalities and injustices around the world. But so many of us want what's just. We want sharing so that we can have justice in the world. And, you know, this isn't about, you know, just giving away all your money. This is about having policies on the level of the government that really address the inequalities, the systemic inequalities, the systemic injustices.
Well, and Maitreya's priorities are very much exactly the same as those that we are familiar with from the UN Declaration of Human Rights,
Right.
Article 25. And they're absolutely the fundamentals, right?
Right.
Right.
You were saying that earlier, Mary Beth. You said that as long as a person is struggling just to provide for themselves and their family, you don't have any mental energy, no physical energy, no time, no space in your life to think about higher things. Although many people who struggle like this every day are incredibly noble and do, in fact, express and show in what they do every single day qualities that are really what we're talking about, these great spiritual or divine qualities. But there's no reason why people should have to struggle like that, especially since we know there's a surplus of food in the world. We produce more than we need.
Yeah, we all have way more than we need generally. You know, we can't even manage it all. We have so much. And you know, one of the things too that I've really loved to learn about these masters is that they live so simply, that they express themselves so simply, that life really is simple, and it's about enjoyment, and it's about love and creativity. And what would it be like if we could all be freed up to be our natural selves and be creative and bring the gifts that each of our souls wants to bring through us to the world? I mean, we could remake the world quite quickly. And indeed, that's what the masters say will happen. So this is the great message of hope, that once humanity does decide to share on the level of nations, that we will create a world that everyone at least has the basics. And those who want to work and have, you know, the riches and the fancy things, that's fine. They can have that. But at least don't, you know, allow your brothers and sisters to live in absolute squalor, or die of curable diseases, or die for lack of food or lack of health care. So in a way, you know, what we've gone through from COVID has shown us that, you know, it's just a reordering of priorities. We are an incredibly rich, incredibly creative, incredibly productive nation, just in and of ourselves here in the United States. And so many nations are like this in the world. They just need to reorder their priorities. And I think it's entirely doable. We can keep our economic system pretty much, we're more of a capitalist system here. There are other countries that are more socialism oriented. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you use your system with peace and justice and sustainability at the core. And there's all the answers are there. As a biologist, I've studied sustainability for decades. I know that the answers are there. But things are so politicized right now, and we need to break through that.
Well, and this quote is so wonderful because it's very straightforward. Until we share, and we're speaking about sharing at a global level between countries, not individuals pulling it out of their pocket. But until we have that type of sharing, there can't be, and there won't be any real justice in the world. And for us to have a peace that's a genuine peace, we need justice. Because as long as people feel disenfranchised, how can they remain peaceful and quiet?
Right. And they shouldn't, they have to speak out, because until they speak out, those of us who our awareness isn't quite in empathy with them yet, we need to hear this. We need to see it. We need to see how people are suffering. And I think that's the process we're in right now of these crises. The suffering and the tragedies are coming closer and closer to each one of us. And we're each going to have to make that choice. Where do we stand? Do we stand on the side of peace, justice, sharing, caring for each other, or do we stand on the side of competition and war and greed? So yeah, each one of us on the planet can do our part in this, and we each need to make that decision.
Right. And you mentioned earlier the heart, Drew, when you were talking about meditation, the heart and the mind together. And so I'd like to go to our next painting called Chalice. And this is about the heart center, right?
Right. It represents the cosmic spiritual heart center, the heart of the sun, which flows solar fire. I'm just going to read what Benjamin Creme wrote because it's a really beautiful description. The energy we call love, with the inner eye, it's seen as a molten golden fire radiating love throughout the system, the whole solar system. And the cup is where that comes from. It's surrounded by these blue flames, which is the fire electrical or aspect of the sun. This really represents the energy, the Christ principle, I would say, which is the principle of love. And that is being stimulated in the world by the being that we've mentioned, Maitreya, who really represents, in Christian terms, the Christ, but he represents the teacher expected by all religions. And in all religions, there is also this idea that you need to take care of your brother and sister in the world. You have to care for one another. It's an aspect of the golden rule that appears throughout all religions. And this is what the Christ, if we call him the Christ, but he prefers the world teacher, because really that's what Maitreya is, a teacher for all humanity. But he embodies the love aspect of God. And this is what he is constantly radiating out into the earth and the masters as well. And this is what the age we're entering will become a predominant factor, love and caring for one another. The Buddha is another great teacher who embodies another aspect, which is the wisdom aspect of God. And both of these are necessary.
And I think one thing I'd like to add is when you think of the idea of the Christ consciousness, it's really great to think of all the masters, because they really hold that consciousness as a group. And it's sort of like if these great beings were to come forward and people were to see Jesus and they were to see, the great Buddhist teachers, the great Muslim teachers, working as a group, which is actually what we're all going to see when these great ones emerge together. It will see that, Maitreya, as the eldest brother, was the teacher who then taught others. He was the great teacher of Jesus in many ways. Jesus was the great teacher of Muhammad. It's all about this chain of love and connection that we all share, and the separativeness that we've had for so long between religions, between nations. This externalization of these great ones together will be this amazing sign to humanity. Look, this is what you can do too. You too will do greater things, is what Jesus said. You will go on to do greater things than I. And the challenges that we have right now are pretty great. So,
Yeah, that's so true.
it's a great challenge. And the masters say we are completely capable. We have the help we need, both from them and from the Space Brothers, from all quarters, from each other, from the great highly evolved members of humanity who are working to put in these great systems for economics and business and health. There's so many great people in the world right now working to move us to this level of consciousness. And right, I'm so glad you're showing this. This is one of my very favorite meditation mandalas, and it is the Tanka for the coming Buddha, Maitreya. Just amazing, amazingly beautiful and wonderful to contemplate.
And so when we talk about the masters and Maitreya and their coming to be here with us and to work with us in this coming time, and you said that Maitreya is expected by all the world's religions, but in the Buddhist tradition, he's expected as Maitreya Buddha. So that name is actually there in the Buddhist writings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Well, what can you tell us about this one?
Well, this represents the relationship of a master and disciple. And then these kind of rose-colored lines represents the energy of love and interconnectedness of the universe. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just a beautiful image. A Tanka is a traditional Buddhist type of painting, and this is a version of that. It's not as detailed and specific, or it's not as detailed as some of the Buddhist Tanka paintings, but this is what it represents.
And so all of these paintings that we've looked at today can be used as an aid to meditation, right?
They can, yes.
Right.
And like I said earlier, just allow yourself to be drawn into it and allow it to have an effect on you just by contemplating it. These states of consciousness, these states of awareness.
Well, and we're going to, in fact, do meditation together soon. Yeah.
The only thing I would add is people may wonder, well, with this information, what can I do? I would say, first of all, continue to live your own life with integrity, practice meditation, and be of service. Support groups that you see are working for the betterment of humanity and for the protection and betterment of the planet. Those can be scientists, those can be political leaders that are working in this direction. Or any groups, just citizen groups that are trying to work for peace, justice, and a better planet. And also, the transmission meditation is a powerful form of service, which I'm glad we're going to do that.
One of the things the masters have said too is that, if you can do nothing else, do transmission meditation, because it is one of the best forms of service that you can work on the planet. It's so powerful. And when more and more of us are doing it simultaneously, that power is, amplified greatly. So it's so wonderful. There's so many groups around the world doing this. It's always free, which I love. And it's so deep, you can really, it's very, very simple and yet such a deep meditation. And, I've been doing it for enough years now to recognize that it has just literally transformed my life in beautiful ways, and I'm sure will continue to do so.
Well, and just before we move on to that section of the show, how could we access these images, for example, these paintings, these meditation mandalas? If one of us wants to use one of them in our meditation, how do we do that?
Well,
I think that on the chat we can post connection to Drew's email, and we can talk to you about the options for that if anyone's interested in that.
Okay.
and also the Benjamin Crumb Museum, we should mention, this was created several years ago as a repository for the many of his original pieces are there. It's in Los Angeles area, and it's a very powerful way, if you happen to be able to go there. But it also has a lot of information about Benjamin Crumb. The book, which Mary Beth mentioned, is for sale through the eCart
Right.
option, the Esoteric Art of Benjamin Crumb. And you can find that on the downloading books, or you can order possibly them through Share International website itself, which are on those. Those are great resources.
Okay, so they are accessible and easy to find.
Yes.
And anyone who's interested to hear Benjamin Crumb talk, you can watch him on the Share International channel on YouTube. And the share-international.org website is an enormous, vast collection of information all about Maitreya, about the Masters of Wisdom. There's a lot there to look into. And we earlier mentioned 4 books that are available for free download. Here they are again. You can find them at share-ecart.com. And you'll see Benjamin Crumb's paintings on the covers of these books. You'll see one we've just looked at today, the Om Overshadowing the Earth. It's on the cover of the book about transmission meditation. Yeah. And so there's one more thing we like to mention, which is Share International magazine. And it has a lot, it combines current events, projects people are taking part in, what's happening in the world around us, how that relates to the Masters and Maitreya and their priorities and messages. And so it's a nice way of seeing how this interconnectedness works.
Yes, I always like to say to people that one of the best things about the magazine is it's sort of like a spiritual version of Yes Magazine. It tells you where all the hopeful things are happening in the world. And, it mentions the challenges and how they're being addressed. So to me, it's like, a breath of fresh air amidst the news that you tend to get of all the crises and challenges that we know are out there. And here is a source that will tell you what are some great solutions or great directions to take to address these issues.
Yes, there it is. Share International magazine. Right. Okay. And now we're going to talk about this meditation, transmission meditation. You've briefly, actually, you have mentioned a little bit, Mary Beth, about this, but do you want to give us a short description of how to do it?
Sure. Like I said, it's one of the simplest meditations there is. And yet no meditation is easy because they're all a practice. The wonderful thing about transmission meditation, you don't need any bells or whistles to do it. You can just, now you can join many different Zoom groups all over the world. That's a benefit of COVID. You don't even have to have a transmission group in your city, though there are transmission groups all over the world in 40 countries, in most major cities. But no matter where you are, if you live rural, you can join us on Zoom, one group or another. They're usually every day of the week. There's a transmission group going somewhere that you can join on Zoom. But when you do join and when you do decide to do it, usually it takes, they say, for transmission to be effective, there has to be 3 people, so you need a triangle, and you simply quiet yourself down as best you can. And focus at the sixth chakra, which is the ajna center here, the chakra between the eyebrows, and gently focus your attention there. Try not to cross your eyes because that's not gently. And as you're focused there at the ajna center, you simply think the mantra Om. And as I said, when you think it inside yourself, you recognize that the energy is connecting the heart mind. And once you are connected with the heart mind, you're connected with the soul. And you say a wonderful mantra to begin it. And once you're in the meditation, your attention will drop. It will wander. It always does. And simply to bring it back, you just inwardly sound Om again. And as soon as you sound Om, you're connected to the soul again. And a few seconds later, you'll probably disconnect, gently say it again, bring that attention back. So it's a wonderful practice. The more you do it, the easier it is that you can feel the alignment and know that you're in the meditation, know that you're connected to the soul. And while you're connected to the soul, that is when the masters can send these energies through you. And it is when you're connected to the soul that you get the benefit both of the soul infusement and of these wonderful energies that are sent through your chakras. So the average person can stay connected anywhere between 5 and maybe 10 minutes an hour. But those 5 or 10 minutes in an hour are gold, because when you're connected, it is amazing. And when you are done with the meditation, you continue to feel that glow of energy infusing that you received. And, it's just something that you try to do as often as possible. I try to do it every day, at least my personal meditation. And there's something called triangles as well. And so maybe we can put something in the chat about triangles of people doing a meditation with others around the world that's very similar to transmission. A matter of fact, we're told that transmission meditation grew out of the triangles movement and was given to Benjamin Creme by his master to take the next step in coordinating humanity to do this major service that interconnects all people of service all around the world.
And so transmission meditation is, as you're saying, it's a group meditation. It's something that must be done in groups of 3 people or more, but anyone can form a group. So you can join a group that already exists. There are links in the chat for Zoom transmission groups that you can join at a distance through your device, your computer, your phone. But you can also just do it with people in your home or friends. Just all you need is to be 3 people.
Exactly.
And generally, the idea is that you would do it at a regular time and day, like with some type of regular frequency, maybe once every week or once every 2 weeks. And the reason for this is that when you do this meditation, you're working in coordination with the masters, and they need to know when you're going to be there, when the group is going to be there.
I would say there's only like 2 or 3 things. Children under the age of 12 probably, they should not participate. Their chakras are not fully formed and strong to handle these energies. Also, you will not be receiving any messages from masters during the meditation. It's simply an energy flow that you will feel. A lot of the ideas you may have as your mind wanders will be from your own mind or possibly from your own soul, but those should just be allowed to pass and then focus back in the Ajna center. And like Sabina said, regularity is important. At least 3 people. The more people, the more potential connections and triangles you have among those people. So it becomes more powerful. And I'm looking forward to meeting in person again as we gradually emerge from more isolation during COVID.
Right. That's a big change. I think everybody is looking forward to that. Yeah. And we do like to mention that you don't need to believe in anything to do this meditation. So you don't have to believe in the masters or Maitreya. It's a very simple technique, as Mary Beth was describing it. And so we invite you to try it, to join us and meditate with us. And we hope that you like it. The other thing is that it's not in conflict with any other path or tradition or practice that you may have. In fact, Benjamin Creme has said that transmission meditation enhances the other spiritual or religious or any kind of work that you may be doing with yourself. So it's not a competition. It's not one or the other. You can do them all, right? And Mary Beth, you described the mantra that we say at the beginning, and this is the Great Invocation. That's what it's called. It's been translated into many languages around the world. There are transmission groups who meditate all over the world, always using their own language, of course. And so what we'll do now is simply, I'll invite one of you to say the Great Invocation aloud. The rest of us will also say it aloud wherever we are. So we'll say it together as a group, and then we'll spend 30 minutes just sitting and meditating with our attention on the Ajna Center. And as you so well described, Mary Beth, when our attention wanders, we'll just bring it back by saying Om silently.
Sounds great.
Yeah, okay, I'll set my timer for 30 minutes, and then you tell me, you just go ahead.
All right. Well, if you're okay with it, I'll say it.
Yeah.
You can join me if you want. The Great Invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Well, that was 30 minutes, amazing as it seems. And that was transmission meditation. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Drew and Mary Beth, for being on the show. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for us.
Yes, thanks so much, Sabina. And I just want to quickly say to anyone who's still with us that, this is anyone who's here is more than likely part of the new group of world servers, this amazing group of people around the world, every one of us just doing our own small part to help shift the world, the consciousness. And I just thank everyone for being here. Maybe
Yes.
we can share the new group of world servers link, because that's a wonderful bit of information to be aware of.
That's right. And thanks to Reswitha Grass in Geneva for your message, and Camille Podrill as well. Thank you for being here. We won't be back next week. Instead, you can connect to Share International Live's webinar, part of the series, The Imperative of Change Towards a Sane and Just World. And the topic next week is, Can Politics Be Spiritual? And you'll find that link on Share International Canada's page on Facebook, and you can register for it. It's at the same time as this program on next Saturday, July 3rd. And we'll be back on July 10th in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking about transmission meditation. So we hope to see you then. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend.